And welcome in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. A very happy Wednesday to you now, April the 10th. And we've got a little something for everybody coming up this week as we have officially said goodbye to college basketball. Shout out to the University of Connecticut for once again being champions of college basketball. And now our sights, will be very focused on Major League Baseball here. Certainly tonight with a couple of games that are already underway. We had a little afternoon baseball, in fact, with Arizona taking on the Rockies, and Arizona trying to take 2 or 3 from them. Currently up 5-3 right now in the bottom of the ninth. We'll see if they can close that out. And also the Rays trying to take 2 or 3 from the Angels. They're up 4-2 in the top of the seventh. We did see the Cardinals lose 2 or 3 to the Phillies earlier today. And the Dodgers lost a game. My goodness, feels like we're not going to see that an awful lot. Almost feels like it might be some sort of eclipse when the Dodgers lose because, well, we don't often get a chance to say that there. Twins handled their business 3-2 earlier here today. Also, the Giants avoided the sweep by the Nats 7-1, and the Mariners avoided sweep. And what a sweep it would have been earlier today here as Seattle gets it done for them here. As we've also got a couple of games getting ready. First pitch in the next hour, I believe, here. We've got ourselves the White Sox Guardians, not to mention the Cubs and Padres coming up at the bottom of this hour. Brewers, Reds, and next hour will be all about the Yankees and the Marlins because, as we just told you, we had a couple of teams avoid the sweeps here earlier this afternoon. I can't believe Washington would have swept the Giants, and the Blue Jays were looking to sweep the Mariners. That didn't happen, but the question is, can the Yankees handle business against the Marlins? That's coming up at the top of next hour, so we've got plenty of Major League Baseball to get you all caught up with. Love that we've got a couple of games coming up at the bottom of this hour. We also have coming up tomorrow, you might have heard this thing called Augusta, Georgia, this thing called, the Masters. That will be taking center stage tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll have our good friend Brady Cannon stop by next hour with some of his picks. And you know the rule on this show. Friends don't let friends bet Xander Schauffele. So we will see whether or not Brady abides by that rule here on the show. We'll get his best bets and figure out which direction he's planning on going for the Masters. And yes, Tiger will be there in attendance. Not sure that he's going to be all that competitive, but he will certainly be there in Augusta starting tomorrow. We've got NBA action coming up here tonight as well, and good luck. All I can tell you is be very cautious betting the NBA here in the final couple of straggler games that we have in the regular season. Some of these lines, some of the people playing, not playing, it has gotten out of control, and you don't have to look any further than what we have here set up tonight with the Cavs and the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, this line, mind you, was not always 18.5. In fact, I'm seeing 19s popping up here in many spots. Think about that. An NBA team and 19 points is what they are going to be laying here tonight against essentially what is a G League team. This is not a professional basketball team. It's currently constructed because I do believe they're handing jerseys out tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies. And if you happen to be in attendance, then you have a pretty good shot of actually playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. That is how bad it has gotten for them. It is the end of the season cannot come fast enough for the Memphis Grizzlies. But saying that, I am in no rush to run to the window and lay 19 points with a team in the Cleveland Cavaliers that has been absolutely burning money over the last month, certainly since the All-Star break. So that's one of those games where you got to be very careful, including a couple of these second of a back-to-back games that we've got going here tonight. Let's focus first and foremost with the Miami Heat taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Miami, second of a back-to-back, had a double overtime win last night. Double overtime win, that is, against the Atlanta Hawks. And now they have to come home and take on, well, the Dallas Mavericks, who quite honestly don't have a whole lot at stake in this game. They're in the West Coast. They've pretty much locked up the 5th seed. Not a whole lot to look at here if you are the Dallas Mavericks. Derek Lively's still out. Josh Green is questionable for him. But the big thing is, while, yes, we know that Kyrie is absent of this injury report, Doncic absent on this injury report, but quite honestly, I don't know what they have to gain by not popping up last minute and going, yep, we're going to sit in this one. Currently sitting at -2. We know Rozier is out. We know Duncan Robinson is out. Tyler Hero appears like he is going to give it a go. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, all ready to go. And Miami certainly wants to try to avoid the going on the road in any sort of play-in game spot. And that's kind of what's at stake here for Miami. I do think that they will bring maximum effort, but do not be surprised if tip-off comes here. 7:30, I believe, is when that game is getting ready to go here in my neck of the woods in Miami. Do not be shocked if one or both Doncic and Kyrie may be sitting this one out. We already know who's sitting out in the late game here tonight. The answer, half the Clippers team. That's right. The Clippers right now, who unbelievable job last night of handling business against the Phoenix Suns in the most unbelievable of ways. James Harden did not play last night. We already know Kawhi is in all likelihood gone until the playoffs. And what did they do? Well, yeah, they were getting 8 or 9 points, and it really didn't matter because the Phoenix Suns bothered to score just 10 points in the first quarter last night. And it was on from there as the Clippers handled their business, locked up their side of the standings. And, of course, Phoenix now had to hop on a plane and fly to L.A. to take on the Clippers again here tonight, which will not have, let's see, Paul George, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, all out. Russell Westbrook, questionable. Ivan Zubac, also questionable. You get where I'm going here, right? Phoenix cannot be in a good mood, but they are still laying 9.5 points here tonight. I don't know about you. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Phoenix Suns to cover anything, especially a second of a back-to-back against the Clippers. We'll have more in the NBA. We've also got some NHL we'll talk about. We'll do that next year on Game Time Decisions.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to I mean, we're telling everybody right now, they're probably moving it in risk rooms everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Got a little something for everybody coming up here tonight. NBA action as we try and make heads of tails of who's playing and who's not playing. And, of course, we'll keep you posted on that over the next hour and a half here before tip-off happen. But let's not forget, we're in the home stretch of the NHL as well. Just 3 games on the card here tonight, and no better to talk with here and figure out which way we should be betting them than with Joe Madden stepping in. And Joe, again, 28 games last night. The NHL, fantastic in the scheduling. Just 3 games tonight, and one of them involves the Blackhawks. So it's really 2.5 games tonight. I'm not sure if we can consider what the Blackhawks do hockey. But St. Louis, this is it. I mean, 41 wins on the season, not a great week here because they needed to get more than the 3 points that they got here over the last couple of days. So what happens here tonight with St. Louis taking on the Blackhawks?
Well, we've got to look for some plus money here, Joe, and call me crazy, but the Chicago Blackhawks could pull off this win. We saw them win in St. Louis back in December with Peter Mrazek having an absolutely phenomenal game standing on his head. We saw in that one the St. Louis Blues he saved 38 shots from them, and they won that meeting. I believe it was 6-3. It was some sort of high score there, but I do think in this one we can see the St. Louis Blues come out the Chicago Blackhawks come out phenomenally strong. I think the St. Louis Blues are going to come out flat. Jake Neighbors is out of the lineup for them. They also have one of their lead defensemen out of the lineup as well. I think we'll see Chicago catch St. Louis. St. Louis still isn't officially eliminated, but Joe, they're way too far behind, in my opinion, to be able to get anything done. They're sitting 5th in the Central right now with 87 points. They're 5 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights. I just can't see even mathematically a way for this team to get there unless Vegas loses everything and the St. Louis Blues win everything and get the 2 points in all of their games. So it does look like the St. Louis Blues are going to be out of the playoffs, and I think Chicago puts that nail in the coffin here for their hopes.
Yeah, well, that would not shock us here now, Joe, would it? It would not be at all. What about the best game of the night, though, coming up? And that's going to involve the Edmonton Oilers and those pesky Las Vegas Knights who don't want to seem to go away. 6.5 as a total, Joe. Is that what you're seeing there? Pretty much a pick-em price, but you were mentioning off air, very interesting spot here tonight for Edmonton. What are you thinking about here?
I think this is a hard spot for the Edmonton Oilers. You look at this, and Connor McDavid listed day to day. He does have a lower body injury. It's going to be interesting to see if they send him out on the ice. I think if they do send Connor McDavid out on the ice, you've got to stay off this total, but I'm not expecting it at all. I do expect this one to be a lower scoring one, staying under that total of 6.5. Edmonton is going to look to seek revenge in this game, though. Remember that long winning streak, 16 games that they went on? That was broken by the Vegas Golden Knights and Adin Hill. Adin Hill is going to be in goal for Vegas tonight, and he's been phenomenally strong. He's been off on injury, and if they're bringing him back tonight, they're bringing him back for a reason to make a statement here. I do think Vegas is able to get the win in this one, but I think the best play is looking at the under 6.5, and Vegas has to be careful because while they're sitting in that second wild card spot, they want that third spot in the Pacific that's currently held by the LA Kings. There's only 1 point between them right now. So I do think Vegas can, if they win this game, be able to move and hold onto that third spot in the Pacific and not in the wild card spot. But winning over Edmonton is pivotal. And I think this right here is a potential playoff matchup that we will have between these two teams. It will be interesting to see if we see Edmonton hold Connor McDavid off for more reasons than just injury, maybe not showing their full hand with not putting Connor McDavid on the ice.
Well, it's interesting. Vegas, I think, has closes out the regular season on the road here. And, Vegas scares me here as we get ready for playoffs, right? A lot of experience on that team, Joe. Do you see a lot of... It feels like this is kind of what we've seen from Vegas over the last couple of years. How much faith do you have in them heading into the playoffs that they put it all together at the right time?
They absolutely do. This is their team strategy. They're not going into the playoffs one of these teams that goes so hard sitting at the top of their divisions. They do enough to make it into the playoffs, and then they turn it into playoff mode, which is scary when a team can do this. So we're going to see the best out of the Vegas Golden Knights in the playoffs. I would not be shocked, Joe, if they make it deep into the playoffs. There's so many strong teams right now, but these teams battling it out, giving all the effort at this point in the year, it's more of a struggle for them. We saw, though, the Florida Panthers last year, they turned it on in those last couple of months because they had to, and look how deep they were able to get. So it'll be interesting to see how Vegas plays it out this season.
It's been a absolutely atrocious last couple of days. I mean, how you give up 6 unanswered to Arizona, lose, and then blow a second period lead to Vancouver and lose that one. And now, fingers crossed, you don't have to deal with Connor McDavid, but this is not an easy stretch by any means here for them. And speaking of Vancouver, they got a game here tonight against the Coyotes. I mean, come on, some of these dogs have to be barking here tonight, don't they?
Well, for my opinion, it's only Chicago. Looking at the Arizona Coyotes tonight, yes, they're coming off a game where they got shut out. And Joe, I'm not going to take Vancouver even on the puck line because I do think there is still an element where we could see Arizona just come out completely strong off that game where they got shut out. But I think in this one, there's too much on the line for Vancouver. Like I said, they're just sitting, those 5 points above Edmonton for that first spot in the Pacific. They've got 4 games left on deck. I believe Edmonton has a game in hand. So this isn't a position where Vancouver can take the loss and not still sit comfortably first in the Pacific. So I'm going to look at their team total, though. Over 3.5, you've got to think they should be able to put up 4 goals on Connor Ingram. Offensively, this team has been clicking. Casey DeSmith will be in goal for them. And the Arizona Coyotes don't give me a lot of faith in their defense to really shut down, especially if they allow Vancouver to go on that power play. I'm going to circle JT Miller again. He's been absolutely phenomenal for us for those power play points out there. That's where you're going to find the value. His power play point coming in at plus 140. He has 2 goals and 9 assists in the last 8 games. He's been absolutely flying out there. So the books keep putting more juice on this prop, but at plus 140, I still think there is value. But Vancouver needs this win. So their team total over 3.5. I think you could also look at Quinn Hughes on the power play. He's been phenomenally strong as well. He has 88 points, which is the 4th highest for an American-born defenseman. So he's absolutely killing it out there on the ice, and I do think he gets another power play point tonight.
So I guess the big question for Vancouver fans, and you and I both know a few, what is up with Demko? I mean, there's no, I haven't seen anything where it's a guarantee that he'll return in time for the playoffs. With the knee issue there, they've done a pretty good job with the Latavia, the rookie kid Silvas there, and. But are they winning if he doesn't come back in time for the playoffs? I mean, that would be a huge loss for Vancouver. No.
Yeah, an absolutely awful loss for the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh.
I think with Demko in net, we can see Vancouver go deep into the playoffs. But without him out there on the ice, Joe, I don't have the faith in Casey DeSmith. He's not the goaltender that can handle the stress like Demko. Now, that being said, I do think Demko will be back. I think they're holding him off the ice because they are sitting first in the Pacific. If they fall to second in the Pacific, so be it. Keep their goaltender healthy. So I have full faith Demko will be back for the Vancouver Canucks and they can go deep.
Yeah. I agree. I think the over, not a bad look in those games until he does come back. Also, might not be a bad way. Team total over for Joe Madden. And Joe, I appreciate you stopping by. We'll talk to you again this week. And Game Time Decisions will return next year on the grid.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's like, it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, I mean, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk groups everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Appreciate you stopping by here, Joe Raineri, and I welcome in our good friend George Kurtz because there is baseball going on here. And in the top of, I believe, top of the hour, the Yankees will be going for a sweep of that minor league team, the Marlins. But no, I only kid. But it's been an interesting start to the season so far for a few teams here, Kurtz. I have no doubt Stroman at home from New York. This should be an interesting outing for him. Weather is a lefty who, in fact, I believe this is now the third straight lefty the Yankees have faced. They left a ton of runs on the base pass last night. I don't suspect they're going to do that here tonight. I expect the Yankees to do what they should do, and that's beat the teams they're better than, and they're better than the Marlins.
Yeah, that really wasn't much of a joke you made earlier. The Miami Marlins pretty much are a minor league team. I mean, it's not their fault. There's, a truckload of injury. You literally lost your entire starting staff, right? Alcantara's gone, Cabrera's gone, Perez is gone, and we knew your offense was going to be a problem anyway. Even if they were healthy, your offense was going to be a problem. So, I always feel bad for Miami. But, yeah, anybody who knows me knows I'm a little negative when it comes to all the teams I root for, but I'm on the Yankees tonight. Stroman has been very good. He is a de facto ace of the team here. I don't see any reason why he's not shutting down Miami. I think he would play the Yankees in a number of different ways here. This is not the 70s Yankees or the 80s Yankees where a lefty shuts them down, right? Doesn't work like that anymore. They'll hit Weathers without a problem. You could parlay them. You could take them on the run line. I have no issue there. I think the Yankees might get over their run total as well, 4.5, so you can go that direction here. So I said, you want to play an anytime home run? I would probably actually go Stanton more than Judge. Stanton's more locked in right now than Judge as far as the home run's concerned here. So I think you could play that as well.
Yeah, well, it's a couple of interesting games that are getting ready to come up. I know I believe the White Sox and the Guardians just started, and I think it's 1-0 already in that one there. We do have another interesting game coming up, Brewers and Reds here tonight. I believe Miley, I didn't even think he was still pitching, but I know he was hurt. He had a rehab start there. He's going to be taking on Hunter Green. Kurt, you and I talked about this Milwaukee team. I said, I don't know why we're all sticking a fork in them so soon. This team certainly should be able to win enough games in a mediocre division to be a factor down the stretch. So far, so good here on the road against Cincinnati. I'm just shocked they've been hitting as well as they have been hitting here. What have you taken away with the Reds and the Brewers so far this year?
I think you read Milwaukee correctly here, right? The hitting's been better than we expected. I'm sure some of that is Churio, right? It's a top rookie, a guy who's going to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation come September and October. We'll see there, but he's a top rookie, top player here. So I think he's helped there. Yelich is hitting for more power this year than he has in the past. Yelich, he got some grief after the MVP year because he wasn't putting up those numbers anymore. But a big part of his problem was, and we'll go into analytics here, he was hitting too many line drives. So he didn't have the right launch angle, and that was hurting his home run production here. Maybe that's fixed. Maybe it's just, hey, it's a couple of weeks into the season. We'll see here, but he is starting to hit the long ball now here. And, they added Hoskins, they got Baum. This is a decent lineup here. Now, you're right. They play in the right division. I don't know if anyone's going to run away with this. I'm on Cincinnati because I think they're a fun young team, but they're not running away with the division either. I really wish Cincinnati would have made one more pitching addition during the offseason here. That being said, I think it's Hunter Green who goes tonight. He is their de facto ace, or at least the guy they're hoping becomes the ace. That being said, he's inconsistent as all get out here. I think runs are coming. We're making fun of Wade Miley here. Anybody who can throw, by the way, nowadays has a starting job in Major League Baseball, right, with all the injuries here. So I think Miley's going to get hit tonight. So I'm on the Reds. I'm more on the over here. I think we're going to get some runs in this contest.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I also like the over in the Padres and Cubs game. That game coming up here, Kurtz, in about 10 minutes. 6:40, I think, is the first pitch there in San Diego. Hendricks on the mound versus Cease here. The Cubs bullpen has been interesting. Woo! That first game was a lot of fun, was it not? But quite honestly, so is the Padres bullpen. It's also been pretty interesting here. So what are we going to get in this rubber match here? Because Chicago came back, won last night, and they gave that first game away to the Padres. What do we get tonight here?
Well, good for the Cubs to come back last night. You mentioned they blew an 8-0 lead Monday night. What, they got 6 runs in the 8th inning or something like that? That was just crazy. I guess it was good if you're a Padre fan, not so good for the Cubs. So good to come back and win last night 5-1. Although, after you got 5 runs through 5 innings, you couldn't get me the over, really, both of you. I would have appreciated that, but whatever. We were on the Cubs, so we'll take it. I'm on the Padres tonight. Hendricks is a softball pitcher. All right, so here's where I'm going. Once again, you can play the Padres in a number of different ways. On the run line, fine. You're getting plus money here. I've got Tatis to hit an anytime home run. I think it was minus 120. And I'm on the Padres to win the game as well on a parlay. So all over San Diego tonight. I think runs are coming in this game. I'm on the over as well in this contest. Because I think the Padres are going to get 5 to 6 runs all by themselves. Cease has been solid. But I think the Cubs get a couple of runs off him. So I'm feeling like a 6-3, 7-3 final.
Yeah. Well, and it was also good last night. I believe Machado finally got a couple of hits there. I mean, he's only hitting 180, so not great. But they get him going. I'm with you. I think the runs will be coming here tonight for the Padres. We saw the Giants avoid a sweep by Washington. I can't even believe I'm saying this here. Are the Rangers in jeopardy of being swept by the A's here tonight, Kurtz?
If they get swept by the A's, I just may quit. All right, I'm supposed to be on rage later on tonight. I just may quit. All right, that's it. Day's over. Done. Go to sleep. That can't happen, right? I mean, come on, it can't. The A's cannot sweep the defending World Series champions at home. All right, this can't happen. Bradford's been good. All right, so he's been good for the Rangers, better than I expected him to be actually here. So I got a nice size. I'm going big on the Rangers. How about that? They're not getting. They've got to be embarrassed right about now, right? You have to be embarrassed. Losing once to Oakland at home is kind of embarrassing. Acceptable, but kind of embarrassing. Twice is like, WTF? What's going on here? 3 times you get swept? No, that can't happen tonight. Go Rangers, go.
Yeah, and it started with the Astros in that game on Sunday night, which was awful. And then they ended up losing 10. And then the A's, it was like they were sleepwalking, and they've gotten bit here. So trying to avoid that sweep here tonight. We know the Mets and Braves, by the way, were already canceled here, postponed in Atlanta. So they'll get a doubleheader at some point. But speaking of those Astros, here they sit 4-8. Valdez goes on IL. Another starting pitcher with elbow injury. Shocker. And yet the Royals, I had them last night, sweated that thing out in extra innings. But the truth is, I like this Royals team. They're young. They're energetic. They got a superstar in Witt. They got the old guard in Perez. And they got Seth Lugo going up against a rookie now because the Astros are running out of pitchers here. What gives here, Kurtz?
I believe the Astros, Valdez, Urquidy, Verlander, Louis Garcia, Lance McCullers. They have an entire starting rotation on the IL. Actually makes Miami look tame, right? Like they got nobody on the IL compared to us. So, a lot of injuries there for Houston. We'll see how bad some of these injuries are. Verlander, by the way, I believe could be back within 10 days. Urquidy, maybe 3 weeks. So they will get healthier in the medium future. Not near future, medium future. They'll get some of these guys back here. Listen, once again, the Royals sort of like any team in the Central of the National League. You're in the right division. You're not great. You're not going to be great. All right, Ragans is great. Reagan is fantastic. Right, he's an ace. But everybody else, Singer and company, you're okay. The hitting is somewhat exciting, right? With Witt, Pasquantino, Melendez is hitting this year. So, I think they can make some noise. I do think they can make some noise. Like most of these teams, the so-so teams, the bullpen's weak. So that's where this is a team where, once again, and this is littered throughout baseball, by the way. Royals go up early, 1-0, 2-0. It's an in-game opportunity to go take the Astros. Because they'll pound on that bullpen late. That's where you want them to come back, and you'll get a better price. The Astros are also throwing pretty much their number 1 pitching prospect tonight. We never know what we're going to get from that, right? And this is, by the way, this is not a ballyhoo prospect. Right? This is not like, oh my God, one of the greatest prospects in baseball. It's just their number 1 pitching prospect. We'll see how he does here. Some of these guys, because the other team's never faced him, doesn't know what to expect. They do well. And, of course, some of these guys spit the bit on the national stage here. So I'm curious on this, how it goes here. I've got a small play on the Royals just because, Astros aren't playing all that well. They haven't really caught their groove yet. We'll see what the rookie pitcher can do here. So small play on the Royals here. Nothing extravagant.
Yeah, the starting pitchers for the Royals pretty good. 4-1, 1.88 ERA, second behind the Red Sox. They've been getting a lot. Walker's there. Lugo will go tonight. Reagan's last night I thought was gritty. Even though they batted him around, he made pitches when he needed to. So this should be a lot closer of a series, even I think moving on into the season, than people are going to want to admit here. So keep an eye on the Royals. I'm with you on them taking on Houston here tonight. But Yankees have to handle their business, Kurtz, tonight. They got to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. I think it begins and ends, top of this hour, what kind of night we're going to have. 8.5 was the total, too. Were you looking at team total over? Possibly, or full game over here, because I think the Yankees lay the 1.5. I'm all over them here tonight.
I would go with the team total more than the full total. 8.5. You need the Yankees to score at least 6, if not 7.
Yeah.
Hell, you may need 9. Stroman's pitched that well. He has looked good, and the Marlins can't hit, boys and girls. It's a lot to ask the Marlins to score 3 runs, more or less anything more than that.
Good point. Stroman making his hometown debut. I don't think he's pitched at Yankee Stadium. Tonight will be the first time he is in New York.
He pitched the home opener.
Oh, he did the home opener? There you go. George Kurtz, cash those tickets. Game Time Decisions. We'll be back after this.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk rooms everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Plenty of Major League Baseball getting ready. By the way, a rain delay with Milwaukee and Cincinnati. We'll let you know when that game gets underway. But in the meantime, ton of NBA action going on here tonight. We started the show by telling you good luck right now this week trying to figure out any of these teams, because when we start seeing 19s hitting the board where you got to lay 19 points for one team in order to get the cover, you know you're in rare territory here. And nobody knows that better than Adam Kaufman stepping in here on Game Time Decisions. And it was the one game I was laughing that stood out to me. I'm like, you want me to lay 19 with a Cavs team who hasn't been able to cover their nose in the last month, but somehow they're going to beat the G League Memphis Grizzlies by 9. I mean, come on here. What do you got going on here tonight, Adam? Are you excited for the playoffs in the NBA at least?
Oh, I'm excited for the playoffs. I am not excited for tonight or for the next few games that these teams are going to play. I've been saying it. I probably said it to you. I said it when I was on all weekend. I have just been saying repeatedly, betting the NBA right now, the last couple weeks of the regular season, is a freaking minefield. Put your money back in your wallet. There are other things to bet on. Put some futures out on the NFL draft. Get ready for the Masters. The Stanley Cup playoffs are right around the corner. Bet the NHL. You don't have teams tanking and sitting guys like crazy the way you do in the NBA, which is so funny because you obviously have teams that are fighting and jockeying for seeding like crazy. I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference, of course, the Celtics absolutely running away with the rest of the NBA, have a 14-game lead on the Milwaukee Bucks, the 2 seed, who just lost Giannis Antetokounmpo for the rest of the regular season, maybe even a portion of the playoffs. We'll find out. I mean, nobody loves a built-in excuse like Doc Rivers loves a built-in excuse, but even he is saying, good God help us, let's just hope for the best. But I bring up the East because, again, Celtics lock up the top. The Bucks have clinched a playoff spot. After that, Joe, nobody, not one team has clinched a playoff spot so far. And everything, I mean, everyone has been eliminated below 10. So you know you're 1 through 10 in some order. You know that 9 and 10 are going to be playing each other in one of the play-in games. That's locked up. But 3 through 8 right now, it's a complete open-ended picture to where you would think some teams right now would care just a little bit more. And in the West, there's certainly jockeying for seeding from the top spot on down. And yet we have nights like tonight where, like you said, a team that is a dumpster fire like the Cleveland Cavaliers can be favored by upwards of 20 points. The OKC Thunder, who seemingly are playing everyone of importance because they are chasing the number 1 overall seed in the West, are going up against a Spurs team that Wemby is out. And so they are a club that is also laying, upwards of 20 points practically. And so it's just, news is coming fast and furious throughout the day. Even just in the time that I was listening to you and Kurtzy talk, we were getting more news about this guy's ruled out, that guy's ruled out. I guess the key news to tell people for Milwaukee, obviously there's no Giannis, but there's no Middleton either. So maybe you want to consider going over on Damian Lillard props because he's the only guy. Karl Anthony Towns was rumored to return tonight. It's not going to happen. For Orlando, there's no Franz Wagner. There's no Markelle Fultz. Atlanta, DeJounte Murray is out. But Trae Young is going to return, but on a minutes restriction. So who knows what the hell to expect from him. And then for the Clippers, just get out of the way. Put everything on the Suns tonight, I guess. This is a game that opened up with Phoenix as a 1-point favorite. It is now double figures because the Clippers have ruled out their big 3. James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, none of them are playing. Tonight is going to be an albatross. It is not going to be entertaining basketball. Again, probably just save your money. But I'll tell you one thing I did bet. That's the Mavericks, -2.5. And I can't understand this one. I know I'm rambling, bud, but I bet it last night. Dallas was -3.5. This thing, before I went to bed, was -6.5 for the Mavericks. I get up this morning, they're 1.5-point favorites, and there's been no injury news. I don't know if they just figured maybe like Luka and company went out in South Beach and they're not going to play, but guess what? They're playing. As of right now, barring a late scratch, they're in. And so the line's back to 2.5, which to me is still not high enough. So the only bet that I have confidently laid, I've laid a bunch of others, but the only one I've confidently laid is Dallas minus 2.5.
It's so weird on so many levels right now. She's like, hurry up and get it going. The Milwaukee Bucks aren't going anywhere without Giannis. We all know that. Doc Rivers, Lillard doesn't make a damn bit of difference. But that writing was kind of on the wall because he's already missed so many games over the last couple of weeks complaining about it. And now they have why are you taking an MRI for an Achilles if you don't have an Achilles problem or a calf problem? Obviously you do, and it doesn't get any better unless you stop playing, and they can't afford to get him to stop playing. So I do think this is a tough sledding ahead for the Bucks. But Miami, I think everyone thought Butler was going to sit this one after a double overtime in Atlanta last night. Maybe Bam, Tyler Hero. But the only ones we've seen here are Rozier and Duncan Robinson are the only two that have been ruled out. Right. Hero, they're saying, is a game time decision, but he was at the shoot around this morning. But none of this would shock me if just before tip-off, Kyrie's going to sit this one out, or Luke is going to sit there. Jimmy Butler's not playing in this one either, because they're truly, for Dallas, what is there to gain in this game for them against an East opponent?
Not much.
They've pretty much already locked it out.
Right. Their seed is pretty much locked in a Western Conference where not too many teams can say that. So you're right. I mean, it being a back-to-back, Luka was a force last night. He doesn't need to play in this one. I hope for the sake of my wallet that he does, obviously. But for the Heat, like you said, we could have guys ruled out. One guy, to your point about Tyler Hero, I played unders on just about everything across the board on Tyler Hero, banking on the fact that he's going to play, but maybe not all that much. That's what I'm hoping for, and we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. But yeah, as you said, I mean, Dallas, had a curb stomping last night, so it's not like guys had to go crazy playing big minutes. Right. Yes, they had to travel, but as you said, you had the Heat and the Hawks go to double overtime, a tightly contested game, and one that for Miami means something. So these guys, we'll see how many of them are actually out there on the floor. Again, you could have late scratches in the final few minutes leading into the game. We've seen it, at least a half dozen times this year across the league, where a guy who's not on the injury report all of a sudden is ruled out due to back stiffness or illness or I don't feel like playing. Yeah, whatever it may be. But I just don't see how these guys can put up the fight they did last night, which is why, again, I'm firmly on the Dallas side.
I'm just going to wait until tip-off because I think 2 minutes in, we'll still be able to get this price. I need to make sure who's on this card for these two teams. So I plan on jumping in as soon as this game tips off, and we can get a pretty good idea of exactly who's going to be there. The other big game here tonight, though, of course, will be in Denver. The game of the night with Minnesota taking on the Nuggets. This game, 6.5, somewhere in that ballpark. The total dropped a little bit. But you mentioned it, right? Karl Anthony Towns tonight, not going, but he'll be back soon enough, which is great news for Minnesota. And the thing that's good for them is they're actually the healthiest they have been in a long time heading into the playoffs. I just don't know that either team cares to push the envelope in this game. It ain't the playoffs, and I just don't know if we're going to get maximum effort from both sides here. Would you lay to 6.5 with Denver?
So I would. I haven't yet, but I would if forced to pick a side, lean on the Nuggets. I just think they're the far superior team, and I have a hard time betting against Jokic. I think he's the best player in the league. I mean, hot take, right? The guy's going to win his third MVP. He's incredible. Defending champion and may not be the betting favorite to win it again this year, but would it surprise anybody? And so, one thing that I guess does speak to the Timberwolves side of things, though, is that I don't see, especially after winning last year and having all of these guys now that have the experience that they have from that deep playoff run and being able to hoist that trophy, that they're not going to go balls to the wall for the number one seed. I mean, they're right there. They could certainly win it with a few games to go, but it's not the most important thing to them. I think to a team like the Timberwolves or, Thunder or some of the ones that have been in contention, it's It's so new, and they press, and they're young, and they're inexperienced, and they look for the advantages of, well, we could have home court all the way through, and the West can go through us, and we get the 1-8 matchup, and so we'll have an inferior team. I think they care about things like that, whereas the Denver Nuggets are looking at it and just saying, we can beat anybody that comes through here. This is not a big deal. We are not worried. Yep. We are not scared. So I don't think they're going to press and go crazy, and we're going to see them, not that players are ever, other maybe Jonte Porter out there worrying about spreads and things like that. Yeah. I don't see, Nikola Jokic at the end of a game, and certainly the coaching staff, Mike Malone and everybody saying, oh, we got to cover that 6.5 points. But, they'll be going for the win so long as everybody is out there, it's competitive, and they're healthy. So again, I would lay the 6.5 with Denver, but it wouldn't be a big wager.
No, and again, keep Murray and Aaron Gordon still listed as questionable here. Michael Porter, KCP active, Jokic active, but one or both of those guys could just decide to sit here, which is what makes this a pretty rough go here. But outside of those games, and you mentioned the Clippers and the Suns, and go figure, I can't think of a team I trust less than the Phoenix Suns, who everyone thought with 2 of the 3 big 3 sitting last night was somehow going to run over the Clippers, and they dropped a Big 10 spot in the first quarter. Smooth 10, but 10 nonetheless here. And now I'm supposed to lay 10. It feels like I know where the books want us to go here, Adam. I just don't know that I'm buying it again when it's all said and done.
Yeah, again, I saw it earlier in the day when it was 4.5, I think, and I wish I'd bet it. And then I saw it climb to 7.5, and I said, no, it's a little too much. And now, like you said, with it being at 11, I wish I'd jumped on the 7.5. That thing just kept soaring throughout the day as more and more Clippers were ruled out. It's hard to be comfortable and confident in that Phoenix team. To your point, they have been remarkably unreliable this year. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that they have been a reasonably heavy favorite that I've bet on them simply at a money line parlay, and they've still lost outright. So they're very Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know who's going to show up outside of Durant and Booker, and Beal's inconsistent. Nurkic, obviously, when he's even available, inconsistent. And so these guys, I just it wouldn't surprise me in the least if they go out and win by 15, 20 points. But am I going to sit here and put my hard-earned SportsGrid money on that? I'm not so sure.
No, I laid it in the first quarter because that's about as much as my faith with Phoenix goes. I expect them to come out and score more than 10 points in the first quarter here in this one, round 2 against the Clippers here. But I can't think of anything worse than trying to sweat out whether or not the Phoenix Suns are actually going to show up and do what they are supposed to do. But still got plenty of NBA action still to come this week. Just tread carefully is all we're saying here. And Kaufman, enjoy the Dallas-Miami game. I'm going to wait till it starts, but I think I'm going to be with you on Dallas. So we'll be back. Game Time Decisions on the Grid.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's like, it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk rooms everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in as we look to close out this first hour of Game Time Decisions, getting ready for a whole lot of NBA action tonight, and no better way to close out this first hour than with a same game parlay from our good friend Davis Maddock. And Davis, what are you looking at here tonight?
All right, guys, we are back for another same game parlay over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Minnesota Timberwolves at Denver Nuggets, the game of the night. This is effectively going to determine who is the 1 seed in the Western Conference. The Nuggets are favored by 6 points. We are going to begin by taking the Nuggets on the money line. It's just long been my opinion. The Nuggets are the best team in the NBA. I will continue to take them in these spots in close spreads against other good teams. Then we are also going to knock on Nikola Jokic to record 30 or more points in this game and Nikola Jokic to record 10 or more assists in this game. Those two things just correlate so strongly with the Nuggets having good games, particularly against Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid. But we are also going to add Anthony Edwards to score 20 or more points in this game, as well as a nice little four-legger. This gives us plus 508 odds. Nuggets money line, Jokic to score 30 or more points, Jokic to record 10 or more assists, and Anthony Edwards to score 20 or more points. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, appreciate that, Davis, as we get ready for at least a couple of games here in the association tonight that will have some meaning. But if you are just joining us, of course, the big news earlier today was Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis apparently has avoided major injury, according to an MRI on his Achilles, but they have decided that there will be no more regular season games, obviously just a handful more, but the big question is whether or not the Bucks will have him for the playoffs, and will they lock in the number 2 seed, or will they fall from there? So a lot of questions around the Milwaukee Bucks, but they got an opportunity to get one in the W column tonight. We'll look at that game and others when Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid. right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here. Another hour on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by here on this April the 10th here. And we've got, we had a whole lot of Major League Baseball ahead of us here. We have to close out the regular season in both the NHL and the NBA. And then, of course, the playoffs will kick in here with the association as well as the Stanley Cup. So a lot still to be decided in these next couple of days here as we wrap up the regular season in both of those sports. But we are learning of some new news, maybe some good news for some teams that we learned that, in fact, the Minnesota Timberwolves, for instance, they were hoping to get Cat back here tonight, Karl-Anthony Towns. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to happen here tonight, but it certainly appears that they will have no problem getting him back on the floor for them for the playoffs, which is quite honestly great news if you are them. I mean, he'll be out tonight against Denver. I don't know why he'd want to come back against Denver anyway. I would kind of ease my way back into this here, Kat, but that is great news for them. It really is. And not only in addition to Karl-Anthony Towns, but quite honestly, everybody else is healthy finally for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this has always been a problem for them in years past. And certainly with Karl-Anthony Towns not being available to the team in the playoffs when it mattered the most. So good news there for Minnesota. And as we told you earlier, Giannis and the Bucks, my goodness, he'll be out the rest of this week, which is pretty much the regular season. He went down late in the third quarter yesterday in that game against Boston, in which the Celtics looked like they could really care less about anything that was going on there. Doc Rivers had said that he had hoped, he had hoped it would all be okay, but I can tell you this right now, even though that they avoided the worst case scenario, which is the Achilles, the reality is it never gets any better. There is only one way that you can really heal that, and that's with rest. And they just, you can take the week off, Giannis, help yourself, but you had already missed about a dozen games over the last month anyway because of hamstring/calf issues. And then you went down last night, and we have seen this before. It does not get any better in any way, shape, or form. So I do think this is, you hope for the best, but the reality is Giannis and the Bucks could very well be in trouble. We also learned, of course, in fact, that Atlanta will certainly looking to get the services of Trae Young back here and to get it done. And tonight the Hawks are trying to end a losing streak. They almost had it last night with Miami, but double overtime, and it just wasn't enough as Miami ended up winning that game. But they do have 24 hours later an opportunity against the Charlotte Hornets to get it done and to win a game, as they are pretty much ready for the postseason. I can't believe they actually have made the postseason, but they're going to have that 9-10 game one way or the other, and it looks like against the Chicago Bulls here. But getting the services of Trae Young back is going to be interesting, because we have told you here on this show and many others that this has actually been a better Atlanta Hawks team without Trae Young in many aspects. Now, sure, are they going to drop 140 points without him? No, but that's the good thing, right? Is because we've noticed with Atlanta and without Trae Young, they were much more efficient offensively. And, they played a ton of defense, which is what has allowed them to even win enough games to be considered for the postseason. But they will have an opportunity to work him back in the lineup. And boy, oh boy, that's going to be very interesting to see. The Atlanta Hawks over the next couple of months have some decisions to make. And I think it all centers around, what are they going to do with Trae Young? And if they sell out to Trae Young, Well, then don't be shocked if every year we're not talking about the Atlanta Hawks in a spot to win a playoff series here. DeJounte Murray and company, Jalen Johnson. They got a lot of young guys here. Much better brand of basketball, winning basketball for Atlanta. And now we'll see if that changes with Trae Young on his way back. Also, USC's Isaiah Collier, we know, is projected to be a lottery pick here in the next month or so. And it appears that he, in fact, will be declaring for the draft. And USC, well, that's going to be a whole new look team with Eric Musselman leaving Arkansas, heading out west to USC to play in what? The Big Ten? I don't know. How does that work again? Or the SEC, rather. So that's going to be interesting. And also the news that we got earlier this week that Musselman heads out west only to play games back east. And then the guy replacing him, also a familiar name there. And it should be very interesting to see the brand of basketball we're going to get in college next year and the year after that. But we got plenty, and I mean plenty, still to be decided here on not just the NBA, but the NHL with 3 games here tonight. The big focus is going to be on the Golden Knights and the Oilers. Can the Golden Knights get that done? 8:30, the puck will drop there in Edmonton. All eyes are going to be on Connor McDavid and whether or not he's actually going to play in this game. But the Golden Knights have been handing wins away over the weekend, and they are hoping Connor McDavid won't be on the ice here tonight, and maybe, just maybe on the road, they'll be able to get a win. And the Canucks taking on the Coyotes. That's going to be your late night game here, in which the Canucks, listen, Demko out, hoping to get him back for the playoffs. They have some question marks in goal if, in fact, he is not coming back for the playoffs. So a lot still to be decided. The one thing that we do know is that Major League Baseball is off and running. And we could not be more excited here as bottom of this hour, the Yankees getting ready to take on the Miami Marlins. And Yankees are looking to sweep that series against the Marlins. We did see the Phillies come back and beat the Cardinals here today 4-3. They took 2 out of 3 on the road, which is a good sign. The Twins salvaged a win against the Dodgers 3-2 earlier today. So the Diamondbacks did the same with a 5-3 win over the Rockies. And would you believe it? The Mariners actually won a game, 6-1 over Toronto, so they avoided the sweep. We have a 1-0 Padres lead over the Cubs here at Petco Park. As a matter of fact, we'll update you on a few of these scores in Major League Baseball as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's like, it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, I mean, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk rooms everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Well, it looks like the Cavs are up 2-0. Only 18 more points to go, and they might actually get the cover against the Memphis Grizzlies here as we welcome you back in. Game Time Decisions on the SportsGrid Network as we are off and running Major League Baseball. We had about 4 or 5 games today that have already finished up. We've got pretty decent slate of games going on right now. Yankees in the first inning taking on that minor league Marlins team there. That's always fun. But we also have a few games getting ready to happen where, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but Dave Sharapan stepping in. I know where he's looking with the Orioles Red Sox, but is it possible, Dave, that the Oakland Athletics sweep the world champion Texas Rangers here tonight and win an unprecedented, they're on the road, no less. They have been beating them. They got some issues there in Texas. Maybe a little baseball hangover, my man. What's going on?
What's up? Good to see you, Joe. Yes, very possible. This is when these things happen, right? Early in the season, when the dogs, I don't know, overpriced, sometimes in situations till teams get going. Favorites, you'll see this happen. Yep. Middle of the summer, when there's just that, dead lull of, road team, a dog team that's just overpriced again in the market. I've seen it in the last couple of years. Oakland did this in the middle of the season last year. They went and won 5 games in a row. Well, they buried everybody that was betting against them. It was just a gigantic minus. So, cautionary tale. Betting against the A's, waiting for them to lose. They lose 3 in a row. This is a big minus. I think it's A's or nothing in that game, especially with Bradford on the hill. I just think it's too dangerous to play. Maybe play it in game.
Yep.
Take a shot, but I wouldn't be laying at minus 190, minus 185, whatever you find.
Yep. Remember last year, too, that stretch that people forget before the playoffs began where, Texas was going the wrong way. They couldn't hit. Remember, they left a million guys on base. They couldn't score any runs. And then it kind of all turned around during the playoffs for them. But they kind of limped in to the playoffs. It was not great there. And they're kind of going through one of those lulls again right now where they just can't seem to put enough hits together to get it done. Your Orioles got plenty of hits yesterday. Kind of ruined the whole, opening day at Fenway there yesterday, and everyone was excited. Bello against Yeah, no, that was over before it started. But what about tonight? I think I know where you're heading here.
Yeah, I broke out the Orioles stuff because everybody's talking about Jackson Holiday. Making his debut, number one prospect in baseball.
Of course.
Big deal, right? He's coming up. I got asked yesterday, on In-Game Live, does that affect the number? No. One guy doesn't affect the number at all. But Baltimore has had the Red Sox number last year.
Yeah.
It's only the second time they played. This would be the first series loss of the season for the Red Sox if they lose tonight. I like Baltimore, all right, but I like the over too. I think there's going to be runs scored in the game, and the way it doesn't go over is if Cutter Crawford pitches into the sixth, which he could, but shaky bullpens. This is one of those situations where I'm okay. Normally sometimes you look in the first five. I like Baltimore in the game. They could be trailing. This might be a perfect in-game opportunity. I'll be on with Wetzel later. Plus, I just want to see if he's paying attention when I go on with him, because when I go on wearing the opposing Red Sox, opponent, he gets a little bent out of shape. It's always fun to make sure he's paying attention.
He gets a little triggered there. But, what Irving on the mound here tonight for him, that's going to be interesting as they just got that underway here. Mets in Atlanta were rained out, but the other New York team off and running here, heading into the bottom of the first. They should not have a problem winning this game here tonight, Dave, right? And they left 1 million guys on last night. That score should have been through the roof. I do think they're probably going to get a few more here tonight. What do you think about the Yanks here against the Marlins?
Man, it's one of those situations, Joe. What do you do with the Marlins? Because they're a better team than they're playing like right now, but it's not time to go against them, or, go on them when they're playing the Yankees. Everything's going right for the Yankees. All right, Yankee fans, rejoice. This is great. Couldn't see this start maybe before the season, but man, everybody's in all in now. I was just back there over the weekend. Yankee stuff everywhere. Yankee talking about it on the air, on the radio, on here, on SportsGrid, blah, da, 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 da. All that being said, yes, the Yankees should win tonight comfortably. Yes, lay it on a run line.
Yes.
I would. I mean, what are you going to do?
Agree.
You're going to tell me that tonight's the night to go against the Yankees? No. Stroman's going to pitch well, and what's probably going to happen is if they can get through the first, 4, 5 innings, close, the Yankees probably blow it open and when they get to the bullpen. That's just been the MO so far for the Marlins.
Yep. You have any Royals gear you might need to bust out? Because if they beat the Astros again today, that would be a 6-game winning streak here, and they would be playing some pretty good baseball going up against, I guess the Astros don't have any pitchers left. Everyone is hurt, so they got to bring up the young kid here from the minors, the pitcher of the year. We all know how that turns out here.
Goes one of two ways, right? He comes up and gets shelled, or he comes up and pitches a gem. There's no in between. You're right. There's no in between. And speaking of Royals gear, I did the show yesterday with Wetzel, and I wore the Royals hat and jersey because I liked the Royals yesterday. We came on, nailed it with that one. Reagan's K-prop didn't go over. That was K-Dub's play of the day. But yes, I would argue there's not a hotter team in baseball, at least this week, right? The way the Royals are playing.
Right.
And again, the lines don't always reflect what is happening. The lines reflect what people are betting. They bet the Astros every day. Doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter who's pitching. Eric Getty.
Yep.
I mean, Serengeti. I don't know. You just make a name up. All right, this guy, I don't know anything about him yet. I got to do a little more research. But this is one of those situations you bet on a team until they lose. And you're getting plus money. Yeah, give me the Royals at home for sure.
Are you betting your Knights tonight against Edmonton, hopefully without Connor McDavid here? It's the only game that isn't where you have to lay $3 here. You're not Well, granted, you give up, 6 unanswered, I think, in the third against, was it Arizona the other day? It was
Total
great.
disaster. Last couple games have been bad, 3 times bad. No, this is Edmonton. I like Edmonton for the side. I think the game goes over, actually. The way the Knights are giving up goals, this is going to be one of two things. A 2-1 playoff type game, way under, or we're finishing 4-3 after 2. Like, it's going way over. I don't think we got to worry about. We'll see drastic line movement down if it starts slow. 0-0 after 5 minutes. You'll get an in-game number 5.5. You'll get an in-game number 4.5 by the end of the first period if there's no goals or only one goal. But I don't like the way the Knights are playing. They got to right the ship. This has not been a good road trip. That was a terrible loss. Most goals they've given up in franchise history in a third period. And if we're looking at that, it's Oilers or nothing.
I mean, knowing their luck, like, he won't play and they'll still lose 6-1. So much for the fact that Connor McDavid didn't go there. But they have been burning money for sure here. All right, Dave, top of the hour, you'll take it over with Wetzel. We'll see you again tomorrow night as Game Time Decisions continues.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk rooms everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. On this Wednesday, we've got NBA off and running, Major League Baseball, NHL. The pucks are about to drop, but let us not forget this weekend is going to be all about the Masters here, and nobody better to help us navigate through Augusta, Georgia, than our good friend Brady Cannon, who no doubt, and he knows the rules of the show, in which friends don't let friends bet Xander Schauffele. So we'll see how that works out in a minute here. But Brady, welcome in. The first thing I want to know, because I'm hearing different things about weather issues this week for Augusta. Now, how does that play into how you approached handicapping this weekend?
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, and thanks for having me as always on the eve of the Masters. It's great to be in this spot. I can't wait until tomorrow morning. And you know, all of our hope and energy and enthusiasm may be thwarted a little bit because of what you're talking about, this weather. It's supposed to start raining overnight at about midnight Augusta, Georgia time, and really isn't supposed to let up until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. So that pretty much takes care of just about the entire field as far as their starting times. I think the last starting time is around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What happened or developed later into the forecast was also the element of thunder showers, some possible electricity. Now, that'll stop a golf tournament in a hurry. And, you know, Augusta National is one of the very few properties in the world that not only has the sub-air systems under the greens, but also under the fairways. So they can really manipulate Mother Nature and suck out that moisture and keep this a very firm and fast golf course. I don't know if we're going to necessarily see a softer product. What I'm worried about is if we're, you know, how much action we're going to get to see on Thursday. I hope we don't have too many interruptions. I hope we don't have too many delays. You know, it looks like we're probably going to be in for something in the way of a stoppage. But I just hope it doesn't interrupt things too much, because obviously we're all excited about it. And I don't think it's good for the players either. We saw it last year. The first, 2.5, 3 days of the Masters last year were very much interrupted by weather. And Brooks Koepka happened to fall into the slots where he avoided everything. He avoided the stoppages. He avoided the weather. And, there he was sitting there at the lead until the skies cleared up and out came Jon Rahm. But I just hope we don't, I hope things go relatively smoothly. I hope we have very few interruptions on Thursday. It does look like the wind is supposed to pick up pretty good on Friday. And then thank goodness it looks like the weekend is supposed to be absolutely glorious. Temperatures in the low 80s with very little wind. So whatever we get for the first couple days, I think we're going to have a barnstormer come Saturday and Sunday.
Hi there, Brady, and I'm kind of curious as well here on what you think we're going to get from our good friends, Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas, and the guys that you and I have talked about all leading up to this here, man. Lay it out for us and tell me, how are we approaching our guys that we have backed in every tournament leading up to this one?
Rory's a little interesting, Joe, and of course, know this as a seasoned handicapper. For 9 years in a row now, Rory's shown up here trying to complete the career Grand Slam, and he's never been able to do it. And now it feels like the masses have kind of gotten wind of this thing, and now Rory's never going to do it, and he can't do it. And, nobody seems to be, with that fervor that he's going to get it. There's no real excitement. They've kind of cast him off that it can't be done. And, as contrarian sports bettors, maybe now's the time to bet that he will do it, because it seems the narrative has spread to the masses and everybody knows he's not going to get it done. So maybe now's the time to bet that he will get it done. I thought it was also interesting, usually he goes out and plays the practice rounds and yucks it up with Freddie Couples and Tiger Woods. Yeah. He took a different route this year. He went to the mentor route and kind of took Ludwig Oberg under his arm, who was a teammate of his for the Ryder Cup team, victorious this last fall, and kind of, acted as a mentor to him around the golf course. Oberg playing in his very first Masters. So just two things that are different there, kind of the contrarian angle possibly with Rory and taking a different approach in the practice rounds. Will that turn out for a different result? I don't know. As far as Justin Thomas, his story is incredibly interesting as well. You know, he had an awful 2023, and I actually bet him back in January to win the Masters because I thought he would have a bounce back campaign in 2024, and he has so far. But then the last couple of weeks, he goes south again. He's one shot off the lead going into the weekend at the Valspar and just plummets like a crashing plane and misses the cut at the Players' Championship. And all of a sudden, his odds, Joe, are close to 60-1. And let's also throw in the fact that he decides to pick this time to fire his caddy, Bones Mackay, who won multiple Masters with Mickelson, won a PGA with JT. Really odd timing for that type of thing. But I'll say this as a sports bettor as well. Joe, you know, in hockey, basketball, baseball, whatever, when they fire the coach, that's the time to bet on that team in the next game or the next week. Maybe the same holds true for Justin Thomas, and we've seen it before. When a guy makes a caddy change, might there be a sudden spark in that very next round? I did play for just peanuts because that's the type of market it is. First round leader bet on Justin Thomas at 35-1. Maybe he comes out guns a-blazing with everybody doubting him, the caddy change. Maybe he has a little bit of spark, at least for Thursday.
Yeah, that's a great angle here. I mean, listen, there's a lot of familiar names in this, Brady, across the board. So as we take a look at your card, I guess the question I have, and I know this is a prop bet somewhere, but will the winner of this, will this be the first major for a winner here? We still look Cantley, Schauffele, Hovland, Homa. You can go down the list. There's a lot of very big names that have not won a major yet. Could this be the year that the winner holding the green jacket there gets his first major?
It's a great call, Joe, and it's happened a lot in recent history. You know, Scotty Scheffler, that was his first major. A couple of years ago, John Rahm at the United States Open. You know, we haven't had the old guard win these major championships a whole lot as of late. Cameron Smith at the British Open a couple of years ago. So, yeah, we have, and I didn't even think of that. We have actually had a lot of first-timers in recent history, a kind of change of the trend from the old days where it was Tiger and Phil and VJ and, this and that and the other. A lot of new faces popping up. And yeah, I broke the show rule here, the Game Time Decisions show rule with Joe Raineri. Friends don't let friends bet on Xander Schauffele. And I went to the well again. We almost got there at the Players' Championship. I hope we kicked the door down this time. But, I think it's possible that a close but no cigar situation at the Players' Championship only builds more scar tissue for Xander Schauffele. And if he gets in that situation again, he'll be better for it and more experienced. I mean, the guy's as hot as anyone in the world right now. He's had 6 top 10 finishes this year, including a 4th at Riviera, which is a very correlated course to Augusta National. He's finished runner-up here before, multiple top 10s. He's won at a couple other correlated courses I looked at this week. Narashino Country Club, where he won the gold medal in the Olympics, and then also the Renaissance Club, where he won the Scottish Open over in the UK. So there's just a ton of boxes that Schauffele checks. And I also think you could make an argument, Joe, that he is currently the second best player in the world. Scotty Scheffler is clearly number 1, but you take, 1 through 5, and I think you can put Xander in any of those spots and maybe number 2.
Well, as long as he doesn't get stuck playing with Cantley, I think they'll be fine.
God,
that usually is that would be awful on so many levels here. So the other big question folks have here, Brady, is what about the LIV guys? Are we expecting a big? They were really good in this tournament last year. All those LIV guys, out of sight, out of mind, right? Rahm, defending champ. You got huge names coming over from LIV. Are we high on any of them here to make some noise?
You said it, out of sight, out of mind. And I think that sometimes leads to some value on these guys because the general betting public doesn't have their eyes on these guys week in and week out. Right. And it's led to them kind of blindly betting Brooks Koepka off of what he did last year. Finished second there, obviously led that Masters tournament last year for about 2.5, almost 3 days. And it's also the storyline that, Brooks just shows up and wins majors, which he does, but the problem is he's not in very good form right now. He started the year off okay on the LIV circuit, but his last 3 events, he's been pretty poor. And you remember last year, right in your neck of the woods, going into that Masters, he won the live event in Orlando, Florida. So he came in popping. This year, he comes off of a Doral Miami finish where he was like 48th. The week before that, he was 35th. We're talking 42nd or whatever he was in a field of 54. So this guy has not been good coming in, and I don't like how bettors are just running to the window on him because of what he did last year. He already avenged that loss. He went out the next month and won the PGA. I think this is a whole different story 12 months later. I like Joaquin Niemann. I really like the young kid, the young Chilean. Bombs it off the tee, magical short game, can work the irons in both directions. His biggest win to date in his career was, again, at a correlated course, 2022, the Genesis Invitational at Riviera. Another correlated course that same year, he lost in a playoff at Kapalua. We've seen so many crossover winners at those two courses. His last 4 trips to Augusta, his only 4 trips, 69th, 40th, 35th, and 16th last year. He just keeps getting better. This year might do the trick for a win.
Should be a very interesting start to the tournament. Brady, good luck with the tickets. We'll talk to you again on Friday as Game Time Decisions returns.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16 seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's like, it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk groups everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Coming up top of the hour, of course, in game live prime time, and the man who will be taking you right through to 10 o'clock hour, Scotty Wetzel, Mr. Opposite Picks, joining me here on Game Time Decisions on, I can't believe it, April the 10th now here, Scotty, on this Wednesday. The Masters, I can't figure out if the Masters is starting later or it should have been earlier. It gets weird every year, but here we are almost in the middle of April, and the Masters this weekend. No more college hoops, but we got plenty of baseball, NBA playoffs, as well as the NHL playoffs right around the corner. So it's a good time of year here, Scotty.
Yeah, no doubt, right? And the Kentucky Derby's not that far off. So how about that as well? Yeah, even like in the NBA and NHL playoffs, right? Every year it seems like the NHL would get a 2-week jump on the NBA playoffs. And then I was looking at the schedules and like what they're winding down there. They're both going to end up basically this weekend. I think hockey goes like a couple of days into next week. But I always remember it being the other way around. Like the NHL would get a couple-week jump, like I said. So blame it on the solar eclipse. If in doubt, blame it on that. Then we had 30 or 29 days in February this year as well. This has just got a goofy year, Joe. So we'll blame it on the calendar.
Not sure what I'm supposed to do with these glasses I bought, but that's fine. Yeah, somebody's getting them for Christmas. I can tell you that.
Yeah, there you go. Souvenir.
Let's talk some Major League Baseball here tonight. I can't believe it, Scotty, but I've been telling people all day long. I will absolutely be floored if Oakland sweeps the world champion Texas Rangers. But that's where we're at right now, Scotty, where Texas has got some issues. And I think people forget, remember, they kind of limped into the playoffs because they went the entire month of August. They couldn't hit. They couldn't get any. I kind of feel like that's what we're getting again from this Texas team here. There's no way Oakland wins this, correct? Not 3 in a row.
In Texas, no less. Not even in Oakland, where you're going to play in front of 5,000-6,000 fans. I mean, this is in Texas, right? I mean, no, it can't happen, right? I mean, how about the goofiness last night? You got the Rangers losing at home to Oakland. You got Houston losing to Kansas City. I mean, this is why I always tell people, Joe, you have to let baseball breathe. You really do. Put a couple shekels on these games, but let the bad teams be bad. Let the good teams be good. It takes about a month for that stuff to occur. A lot of times, we'll have a general idea how good or bad Oakland is or Kansas City is or Colorado. But, we're all anxious to get out there and bet. It's baseball. It's the greatest thing in the world, right? But it's just let it breathe. You got a lot of day games. Nobody's in the stands. Pitchers aren't going even the 6th innings that they generally are going. Sometimes they're only going 4 or 5. It really is a crapshoot. So, but you would think tonight, right? The world champs, at home, getting swept by the pathetic Oakland A's, you got to bet Texas tonight. You just have to. And based on principle alone.
I agree. Can't get lucky all that time. Plus, they're coming off. They've actually won a few more games than we even thought they would win so far. But we'll see what happens tonight. Texas needs to get one.
I looked it up. They got 4 wins, Oakland, right? It took them. They're 4-7. It took them 20 games, almost the entire month of April, to get their 4th win. Yep. And here they have it in 11 games. So maybe they won't be as bad as we think. I don't know. I got to see it to believe it. I'm going to keep on betting against them every chance I get. But I give them credit. They're 4-7. Last year they were 4-16.
I hope, because I have their win total under. Because I'd be shocked if they won 50 games. So settle down, Oakland. Settle down with the wins here. The Yankees, no score against the Marlins. Did you have them handling business, sweeping with Stroman tonight?
I did. I had to look it up. It's been such a long year, right? But the Marlins have made the postseason now a couple times in the last 4 years. Remember, they made the playoffs with the COVID year. So and then they made it last year. Was it last year? Was it 2 years ago? Right? But they were a playoff team. 1-11 they are this year. Yeah, this is one of those where we've seen enough to know that they're in a funk or they're just not going to be any good. But listen, you don't have to hit me over the head 12 times. Got to bet against them. Yeah. Yankees at home, not great, but at least some of the guys, starting to hit the ball a little bit. So I did have the Yankees. I laid the 1.5. Not going to lay the monster odds, and just keep your fingers crossed. But yeah, again, take the thinking out of this stuff and just keep betting against the Marlins until they win 2 in a row.
I agree 100% here. Listen, if you think it's tough handicapping Major League Baseball early in the season, what is handicapping the NBA in the final week of the regular season outside of absolutely nauseating here tonight? Miami taking on Dallas happened to be one of the decent games, but again, 2.5, Dallas laying on the road. How did you approach this one?
Yeah, I kind of, again, took the thinking out of it and just played it on Dallas plays, they're playing good ball, home and away, but they play a little bit better on the road. The key to me in taking Dallas tonight, Joe, was that Miami played last night in Atlanta. So they played when Dallas didn't. They played on the road when Dallas didn't. They played an overtime game. In fact, they played a double overtime game last night in Atlanta. So because of that, and Dallas is a very good road team. I took the Mavs. They're battling for playoff position, as Miami is. All these teams, are. Do they really care? Who knows, right? You said it. I mean, look at the Lakers last night, Joe. I mean, we've discussed this many, many times, but Lakers basically had a chance to clinch at least the number 9 spot with a win, because they would have been a game and a half up. They would have won the tiebreaker with Golden State, but instead they lose. So now they're tied basically in a loss column, but Golden State holds the head-to-head tiebreaker because they won the season series. It would have flipped. And Anthony Davis doesn't play. Now, you don't know the motivation. These guys just don't care. There's Adam Silver just standing by, picking his nose, saying, "Oh, well, what can I do? I can't make these guys play." I mean, so betting the NBA this time of the year, you think would be easier because we're really coming down to crunch time, right? But we got San Antonio that's 5-8, blowing the top or worst 3 records in the NBA as far as the ping pong balls are concerned. They're winning, and then we got teams that should be winning or losing. So go figure. But I do like back to the Miami one. I do like Dallas today. I'm going to take a flyer on the.
Well, I mean, listen, I was laughing with the Cavs, who have been absolute trash. They are 9-19 against the number in the last 28 games, and they were laying 19 tonight. So that tells you everything you need to know about what's happening here in the NBA. And you mentioned San Antonio. They have done nothing but cover games here down this stretch. No Wembanyama here tonight. Not like we know any of the other names that are available, but what does OKC have to prove here by laying 17.5 points here, Scotty?
I know. Gilchrist-Alexander will play and Wembanyama won't, but you said it. They're actually 6-2 against the spread, San Antonio, and one of those against the spread losses was an overtime game against Philadelphia. So for all intents and purposes, they really covered, even though they didn't. 5-3, like I said, they're winning these games. He's not playing, but 17.5 points. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Popovich must be rolling over in his bed at night thinking, okay, I'm blowing this thing. They're going to end up with the 4th or 5th best or worst record when they really should be like 1 or 2 and guarantee themselves at the top 4 spot when it comes to the ping pong balls. But I will gladly take the 17.5, 18, whatever it ends up being, 17, and take. I don't think they're necessarily going to win, but they've beaten some good teams in this 5-game stretch. They've beaten 3 playoff teams. Forget who they are, but I noticed that when I was looking it up this afternoon. So it's not just beating like lousy teams. So, I'll take a flyer on the Spurs with or without Wembanyama.
I'm with you here. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it here. Maybe the game of the night, a lot of people excited about here, Scotty's going to be in Denver with the Timberwolves taking on the Nuggets here tonight. Cat was rumored that he was going to go. Now it looks like they're going to hold him out one more, but you never know. They ruled him out here, so he won't be there, but pretty much outside of Murray and Gordon, everyone else is going for Denver, and it's hovering around 5.5, 6. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, right? That line's not a little bit more. The teacups, as I like to call them, are great against the spread numbers, especially on the road. But, without the 2 of their best players, I mean, and this is for first place, number 1 seed. As difficult as it's going to be to beat Denver somewhere along the line for these Western Conference teams, they win this game, they get a leg up. They're 1 game up with 2 to play for the best record, number 1 seed in the Western Conference. It's a big game. So if that's the case, we're going to get Denver's A game. And to me, I'll take Denver laying 5.5 at home against anybody this side of Boston.
Only 3 games in the NHL, Scotty. We asked Sharapan, who you'll be on with coming up top of the hour, if he liked his Vegas Knights. And what was the word? Oh, hell no, he said. Absolutely not against Edmonton. What are you thinking about this game?
Well, I will say this, Joe. It's got sucker written all over, right? But no Connor McDavid. He's I'm assuming he's out. He was listed as day-to-day, strained himself a little bit, fell to the ice the wrong way. But that line all day has said that he's not playing. But still, Edmonton at home, they've won 5 in a row. They're playing great. Vegas is under 500 on the road. Both battling for playoff positions, so they both need the game. I will gladly take Edmonton even without McDavid if he doesn't play. Basically a pick a minus 120, but maybe minus 125. I don't understand that line. They should be a bigger favorite even without McDavid. So be a little careful, but I do like Edmonton.
I kind of like that, too. All right, we had Brady on talking some Masters here, Scotty. Nobody cashes more prop bets and the very unique prop bets at that you find with the Masters each and every year. So lay a few of them out for us here for this Masters.
All right. I do love these prop bets, Joe. I really do. If I told you, now, I don't want to lay minus 2 to 1 with anything, right? But if I told you I could give you 1,112 chances to do something, and you only had to lay 2 to 1 to accomplish that, would you not take that bet? I mean, I would. And that's what a hole in one is at the Masters. You have to lay 2 to 1 for a yes. And you're saying, well, how do we get 11,000 or 1,100 chances, Scott? Well, there's 89 golfers. There's 4 par 3s. There's 2 rounds of all 89 golfers. That's 712 chances. Then you have the top 50 make the cut. So plus ties. So say that's 55. So now you have another 2 rounds of 55 golfers getting 4 more opportunities. You add it all up. It's 1,112 chances of the world's best golfers on par 3s. Somewhere along the line, they're getting 1 out of 1,112 is going to hit that hole. Give me the yes at minus 2 to 1. I like that. I also love believe it or not, how about this one? 36-hole cut score, 147.5, which equates to 4 or 3. If you think it's going to be 3, 2, 1, then you say higher, or if you think it's going to be 4, 5, 6, then you say low, or vice versa. But last 5 years, we've only had one score be 4 or worse as the cut. So the last 4 of the last 5, it's been 3 or better. So I'm going 3 or better. So and I know we were short on time here, but I'll give you the playoff yes at plus 3 and change. 17 playoffs in Masters history, 6 since 2000. None since 2017, so we're overdue. It basically happens once every 5 tournaments. We're getting better odds than when you equate that. So give me the yes plus 322 on having a playoff this year.
Did you have the Marlins up 4-0 in the 3rd inning? Was that on that card? Okay, all right. Just curious then. So you always coming from left field there. Unbelievable. Scotty, we'll see you top of the hour. We'll close out Game Time Decisions next on the grid.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We had the best team in Colorado losing. So there's like, it's not even like Colorado's going to sit on it, right? I mean, there's no way in the world we're not getting one more goal. We're going to cash this ticket. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I love the bet. I love the price. I think that's, like I said, that's one we're going to have to, we're telling everybody right now. They're probably moving it in risk rooms everywhere right now based on us giving out this information.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
sort
Night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here as we close out this edition. Much more still to come your way here as Scotty Wetzel, Dave Sherapan, they'll take over in just a minute for in-game live prime time and plenty of in-game action going on right now, including, as you might have just heard, we told you, a just not a good start for Marcus Stroman and the Yankees. It's 4-0. Top of the third, the Marlins are actually scoring runs. 4 runs, 3 hits, including a 3-run home run by Jake Berger there. But the story is Stroman's already walked 4 guys in this. So not a great start here for Stroman and the Yankees. Top of the third, 4-0 here in that one. In the NBA, you've got the Mavs and Miami going back and forth, 20-18 with about 4 minutes left in the first quarter there. Everybody is playing. Those that might have been curious, Doncic's playing, Kyrie's playing, Hero is playing, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. All the usual suspects are in that game, and it's a 1-bucket lead there for the Dallas Mavericks here. You'll also have a pretty good one with Charlotte and Atlanta going on right now, 23-21 in that one. And the game in which we laughed at the Cavaliers laying 19 points, well, it's 43-42 right now, the Cavs over the Grizzlies. They're going to need to stop Memphis from scoring if they are going to cover 19 points there. You also have, don't forget, big one coming up later with Denver and Minnesota out west. In Denver should be the game of the night. And of course, in-game live primetime coming up next. They will have you covered. They'll get you going with the rest of the Major League Baseball slate, as well as plenty more NBA action coming your way. And we'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of Game Time Decisions. Until then, best of luck. We'll see you again soon.